Hello there, and welcome to the Theatre of Pies, Season 2, and Episode 2, should I say, Season 1, Episode 2. Uh, God, that was as bad as Kilmarnock's defending today, wasn't it? Jesus Christ,
Uh,
what a bad intro that was. Let's chat about today's game. But before we do that, Laurie, tell us about Friday night. How was it for you?
Absolutely brilliant. Let's get into something a bit more positive and get it all started in the right way. And credit as well to our fellow Kelly podcast, Forever and Ever. I mean, Callum Monty deserves great credit for putting on another fantastic event in the Park Hotel. I was unfortunate enough not to make the first one. I know Martin and Stephen did. But on Friday, in amongst all the other fun activities, I was asked by Callum Monty whether I could kind of go up and do one of the live podcast segments. I'm sure they'll see the time of day soon, courtesy of Limelight Studios. But I got the opportunity to have a bit more of an in-depth chat with Connor Salmon rather than just what you would have when you were at the tables. Yeah, like, it was really quite surreal actually, and I must admit they had a pretty good setup there as well. But Connor Salmon was absolutely brilliant. And see that moment when I started and we actually got the crowd standing behind, which I'm sure you two were part of, and we got you all to chant, feed the fish, etc. That was great fun.
Yeah, that was good. It was a very good opening. Really good that Callum Monty managed to get you on as well. So that was very nice of him. Just a big shout out to Callum Monty for putting on a great night. As ever, last year was fantastic. Previous things that they've done live, the podcast itself is a great lesson, and the work and the effort that they put in to give that to the Kilmarnock fans was fantastic to see. Really enjoyable in. They're a credit to the fan base. So a big shout out to Callum Monty, and not just them, but obviously the people behind in the background, doing all the work as well for that made it such a top night. Stephen, did you enjoy yourself on Friday night?
Yeah, very good. It was excellent. I mean, well done to the guys, as we said before, and also everybody. It was at the stallholders. I was talking to Jim on the Kelly Trust, Jordan on the community, Sandy at Matchworn with fantastic collection of shirts, which I'm
Yeah,
sure many
brilliant.
people have seen before, but always good to see, including a nice Dindaloo red one with seriously strong cheese on it. So I was a bit envious of that one. So that was a few quid in that, I would think. Also, Sandy at the Hippo, who gave us a nice wee mention, actually, if anybody bought the Hippo like I did. The edition, they gave us a wee nod and welcomed us back on the intro of his magazine, so that was good. I think the mugs and the t-shirts were selling well, according to Baz, although he's wanting more t-shirt sales, but there you go. But yeah, great effort for the guys. The players were brilliant. The players I spoke to, as Laurie alluded to there, Connor Salmon was brilliant. I had a good crack with him. Unfortunately for me, I was in the queue when they decided they would go live with you guys, so I had to wait. But I got Bally as well was brilliant. He was great value as well. And Big Jerome was just, I don't know what he had been drinking, but I was wanting a couple of pints of that. He was fantastic value.
Yeah.
So I'm sure Hookie and the rest that were there were good, but they were the highlights for me. But yeah, brilliant night for the guys, and well done, Callum, on it again. Got a brief chat with both of them later in the night, but yeah, it was brilliant to see so many Kelly fans out and about and optimistic about the season ahead.
Yeah, and talking of optimistic, we'll go to that in a minute. It's sort of diminished today, but yeah, no, just going back to the players that were there. For me, obviously, been a fan since 2012, so it was great to see like Bali, who, I mean, you and me, Stephen, said on Friday night there that it was a bit like Davy Watson, where he just never seemed to score a tap in. All his goals were
Aye.
fantastic. To the point where I asked him the question, "What the hell were you thinking when you hit that shot?" And he said, he just said,
For sure it was.
you just sometimes got to hit it." But
Yeah,
it was
got it.
yeah, it was a brilliant goal, and they were chatting about that, and then I mean Blair Alston as well, who was I think he was on the pod at some point with the lads. Fantastic to listen to. We'll probably listen to the Patreon to give a shout out to that as well for them lot. But he just a gentleman, like just speaking to him, really nice guy, and yeah, it was just good to get some photo opportunities with your sort of heroes from past, to more recent, and it was good to see a lot of the young kids there as well who were able to sort of divulge into that sort of Blair Alston moment with Captain Conker, who obviously was there on the stage reenacting the moment. So yeah, it was a good to kick off the start of the season once again, and like I say, really really fantastic job there. So obviously now we're going to get to the football. Wow. It's all I've got to say. Yeah. Where do I start? I mean, right.
The lineup.
Yeah. We'll start at the beginning. That's a great start, Stephen. Always a good place to start. So I think I predicted the lineup pretty much bang on, apart from Chichenko. Klitschenko was in place of O'Hara, who I thought might start, but I pretty much got it bang on apart from that. But it's not the lineup you want to see, and yeah, the centre back pairing. I don't want to go hammering players after one game, right? It was pretty chronic, the defending, right? But want to put a bit of positivity on it, that we scored 3 goals, which is good. But that was probably about it in terms of positivity. There was a lot of negatives. I'm sure Neil McCann, anyone who's listening to this, will have obviously listened to his post-match interview. It was pretty evident that he was not happy as well, and was speaking on behalf of all his fans that were there. And credit to the fans that were all there and travelled all that way. They made a good noise when we scored the goals beyond that goal. But yeah, disappointing that I think that there was defending that was an issue, right? And we'll talk about that. But Laurie, go to you first. See, when you're scoring 3 goals away from home, you should not be like coming away down the road with nothing. You should be getting at least a point.
Yeah, at the very least, Martin, at the very least. Although I quite agree with what the manager had to say post-match. And I like that he makes no bones about how little we actually deserve from the game. But I think the fact you can score 3 goals and come away with nothing is just it's criminal. And I know we just touched upon the lineup, and maybe it's not ideal. We need reinforcements or experience at the back, blah blah. We'll get into that later in the show. But I think really, regardless of who's playing at the back, it's just unforgivable without trying to, dig a hole for myself and anyone else. I just think really, really sloppy. I mean, none of the goals today, including ours, you could argue, without being too critical, were like incredible strikes or anything like that. It was all just quite slack stuff, really. But it goes back to what we said last week. Without trying to blow my own trumpet, because I did predict we would win, it was kind of the sort of game that I had kind of anticipated, especially that second half, where, to be honest, it was just basketball, really.
Yeah, you were right. You said it was going to be an attacking and open game. And to be fair, I did say that St Johnstone would be probably a bit of a surprise package this year. And you can really see why, because from the off, the first 20 minutes, they really did go for it. And it looked like we were the team that had just been promoted and were really nervous on the ball. We hadn't played together. When you look at it, the majority of that team had been playing together last season even. We were just sloppy. We were sluggish. We couldn't pass a ball together, and it was quite a shock really to see how bad we were. And you've got to credit St Johnstone as well. They really did go and attack us and look really impressive. But at the same point, yeah, we were guilty of our own mistakes. And Stephen, we talked about this many a time last season when it was before and after Kettlewell. First of all, we know we need defenders, a proper nasty centre half, a Joe Wright type character, you could probably say. But the goals, as Laurie mentioned, they're avoidable, and I think we lost count on here the amount of times when we spoke about the goals we concede. They're so avoidable. It's not like a great passage of play has opened us up, or a 30-yarder has been scored against us. We've been so sloppy in all 4 goals.
Yeah. Some of it was basic defending, wasn't it? 3 headers, and it's poor. And again, it's difficult to come on and be objective, but no really single out some of the defensive frailties. I think most people know who they'd be talking about. Interesting also, and notice I take it the German lad is probably not fit because he wasn't even in the match day squad. So I assume he isn't quite up to speed yet, which again is maybe a concern if you're thinking of shuffling it up, because obviously I think Dees is suspended for another game, isn't he?
No, I think he's back.
The Celtic game, was it 2 games? No,
I'm not. No, I think it's only the first game. I'm not sure.
I'm actually not 100% because I remember the whole thing was he was suspended, then he wasn't, and whatever. So no, I was with you, Stephen. I was understanding it was 2 games, but I tell you something right now, I blooming hope it isn't.
Well, I was going to say it's interesting you mention that, Stephen, because Dees, who came in for a lot of criticism last year, and rightly so, because he was part of that really bad defence. But I felt as though even just the way we were trying to pass the ball out the back in the first half, Dees for me, when he's on that left side, he's good at playing the ball in. He's good at playing it long. I just felt as though we weren't hitting the right men in that first half, and Dees also has that ability to put in that type of challenge and just basically get stuck. I just felt as though, and yeah, Dees has had his critics and that, but we really did miss him today. I think that was quite evident.
Yeah, I think we're still. I suppose it is early doors, but the alarming thing is it's taken us so late in the window before we've brought in. The 2 new guys obviously come in this week. As I say, only one looking like being fit. Does he risk the other one against Celtic? You don't know, but it's more alarming that I think everybody has said it, that we've been needing defensive cover. That was because we tie up Joe Hugo, Tyrese is there. The up front was sorted, midfield was pretty much sorted as well. I would have thought, and maybe by hindsight, but after watching today on the highlights, it's evident that we need a lot of work at the back. We either, I don't know, obviously maybe a big Broadfoot coming in might make a difference for us now as well, because he's obviously just late in. So therefore, maybe the Billy Dodds and being striker and McCann being a winger, maybe they have thought to themselves, albeit given Kirky's opportunity in the coaching side, they've maybe thought, we need a bit of defensive savvy as well. So let's hope that's the case. And if that is, you've got to give Broadfoot a bit of time to bed in, haven't you? To maybe get working with the defenders. But unfortunately for young Shelty Brown, I worry for him, because I think he'd be an easy fall guy after today if you're kind of looking at that on on an analysis, and I'm sure they'll go over the game today and then have a meeting tomorrow when they're in for training and whatever sort of thing. But he might get a bit of the in the sidelines kind of thing, because Stanger didn't look as if he was over bad, but some of the position of the defending at times looked pretty poor.
Yeah, and it's you're right, and it was actually Shelty Brown has just come under unfortunate criticism because there was 2 glaring mistakes that unfortunately cost us 2 of the goals. But you've even got experienced players in that squad who were arguably our best players last season, namely Tish Bowler, who what the hell he was doing, dilly dallying on the ball, and then he just looks so. I don't know. It's like he didn't put the effort to get back. It was just about. I just for me, and it wasn't the first time. I think even the build up to one of their goals in the second half, he lost the ball and he didn't have it under full control, and he got 2 players on him, but he just didn't seem like his usual Tish Bowler self, like in control, so to speak, as we like to sing. It was more Tish Bowler, not the midfield controller today, than the midfield controller of usual. And then you've got Max Stryk as well, who really saved us at times, and actually pulled off a couple of good saves in the first half.
There was a great save to save it going to stop it going from 2-0.
But having said that, when a ball comes into the box, a free kick that's not actually that high, and it's in that 6-yard box, as in the free kick that probably wasn't a free kick, but that's probably clutching at straws, because again, regardless of whether it's a free kick or not, we should be dealing with that free kick, and Max Stryk has to claim that, whether he comes out and deals with it, punches it, whatever. But the fact is he doesn't, and it just puts pressure on the defence. We lose the man and they score, and it's just, again, it's basic. 2 of the goals are headers. Shelty Brown, needs to do better for that second one as well, straight after kickoff. Neil McCann's probably read them the riot act, and then we give another cheap goal away. Neil McCann must be tearing his hair out because there's only so much he can say. But having said that, should Neil McCann maybe have noticed sooner that he was struggling and maybe made a switch? I don't know. It's all it's the game's gone now, but I just feel as though his performance seemed to just digress, and he really did struggle in that game. But he wasn't the only one there. There was, he's still young, but there was other people in there, like say Tish Bowler, Strayer, more experienced players that just weren't up to speed. The normal game that you normally see them play. And I think when you're having so many players or good players having an off day, it's a real ask. We couldn't even string two passes together at times. Now I see Josh McGivern there has commented, so thanks for listening and commenting. So defensively we were choking. Yeah, fair comment. That is, can't really deny that. But he is right in what he's saying. It is the first game of the season, and I think it's it's not. If we'd won today, everyone would be getting excited, and rightly so. A win. And we lose the way that we lost, the manner of it. I think it's disappointing, but it is only one game. Falkirk played Livy in the second game last season and lost 3-1. And then I think Livingston took 9 months to get a win at home or a win at all. And Falkirk ended up in the top 6 and having a fantastic season. So the season isn't completely done in the first month of the season. So I think it's just, if we are going to have a shocker, maybe it's good that we have a shocker on day one rather than later on down the line, because then Neil McCann can get his defensive recruitments in, look at changing things, and also making things a lot more better going forward. But, Laurie, what was we'll go through the goals. I obviously talked about them briefly there. So what was your thoughts on the opener there? I mean, Tish Bowler needs to do better there, doesn't he, really?
Aye, absolutely. I think you've hit the nail on the head there. It's quite simple in terms of need to do better. I think I can't remember, Martin, if it was yourself, but someone said in our group chat, and I'm happy for this to go on air, that Aaron Tishbola needs to change his boots. And that's how it felt, because there was a couple of times that you kind of alluded to there where Tish is kind of unfortunately sliding around the McDermott Park pitch. New pitch, may I add. Must be a thing for this year. But yeah, just honestly, like Tishbola just looks really sloppy. I mean, obviously, even though he's well liked amongst the majority of Commander fans, there is a group of like Aaron Tishbola critics. You maybe saw this more in the kind of Steve Clark, Alex Dyer eras of people that accuse Tish of being lazy or lack of work rate. And I wouldn't go as far as to call him any of those things today, but as you kind of mentioned, Martin, he seemed very off colour and just not quite himself. I mean, he's one of these guys who sometimes need a big game to motivate him. Like, I mean, we saw how well he's played against the Old Firm in the past. I mean, hopefully, this time next week we're talking about Aaron Tishbola putting in a performance against Celtic, but he does need to step it up. But as well, I'm glad that Neil McCann recognised that and actually did hook Tishbola. I'm not saying I'm glad to see him fail or struggle, because I'm certainly not. But I'm glad that he wasn't just left out there because of who he was. I'm glad that Neil McCann appears to have pulled no punches and taken him off. Same as you were saying about the second goal, where clearly Neil McCann have read the riot act and then not been able to do anything whilst he stands there helplessly. So at least he's making it clear, and he made it clear to the media as well that he wasn't pleased, McCann.
Yes, and that goal, it felt like it actually came against the run of play in that sort of 15-minute spell in the second half, because apart from that, we actually went for him and looked really good. Well, say really good is probably a stretch, but we did try to be a bit more of a threat, and obviously we got the two
A bit more
goals.
positive.
Yeah, positive, and I think that comes down to we were going to talk about diamond formation now, Laurie. I mean, I think Alan on the group chat agrees. You agree, I agree. I don't know about yourself, Stephen, but this diamond formation doesn't seem to work. Yeah, if you think about the goals we've scored today, have all come from wide areas, from being a bit of a threat. So Eric Ring in the first half, getting further forward, cutting in on his left foot, getting the ball in the box. That's what you want. And then the second goal comes from um, Brandon. Sorry, so obviously Brandon, bombing forward, getting the ball in. A great finish by Hugel, a typical striker's finish. And then the third goal comes from positive play down the left. Klashchenko cutting inside, getting a shot away. Very unlucky not to score himself, and then it's an unfortunate own goal. But if you don't have the shot, you know that's what sort of can happen. And we looked more of a threat, and even Roshan Matherin, when he came on, looked to try and give us a bit of a spark down that left hand side as well. So for me, I felt our best periods of play in the game was when we were looking to play with more width, whereas this diamond just doesn't suit us. It may suit us if we've got the right players, but I just don't feel we have at the minute, or players that we have got are not quite up to match fitness. Stephen, what's your thoughts on the diamond?
Yeah, again, it's very early, isn't it? It's one game in. He seemed quite. He seems to like that formation, doesn't he? Are we still looking at targets in terms of personnel that might tweak that as well? You don't know. There might be. It's the end of the month before the window's shut, so might well be that he has got an eye on a wide man. As you said, I thought Ring done very well for the goal. The first goal, I mean, he actually looks a decent player. I mean, I've only seen highlights today, but I like to see him up close against Celtic next week. Maybe not the best game to see him but perform in as such, but it'd be good to see him in the flesh because he looked pretty impressive actually for me on the highlights. I think formations and stuff like that, one game in, it's very, very early to be saying, oh, we should do this or we should do that sort of thing. It certainly seems to like it, and let's face it, we get a run of good results at the back end of last season to keep us up. So, however, I suppose Finlay Curtis was kind of that bit different, wasn't he, cutting in for the side as well, sort of thing. But again, Rice coming on, is he going to offer something different as well? And as I say, that might well be that he's got targets that are wide men as well, because that wouldn't be out of character for him. So yeah, I think still early. It's disappointing because of what we've seen, but let's face it, the cup run, we only scored 2 goals. We never conceded. Today was one of those, and I think, to be fair to McCann, he has said last season and getting into this season, sometimes it's risk and reward. Sometimes you're going to have to, we might get beat. Today was a classic example, Kevin Keegan type football in it. We scored 3, they scored 4 type thing. We might be having games like that this season. That's just what it is. It's just a matter of full pell. It's very early on for players to be getting across like Ring and guys that have just come in the door as well to maybe get the full message that Dodds and McCann really want, sort of thing. So yeah. Well, I'm not hung up for too much on the formation, the diamond formation type. I think he'll tweak that as we go. I think he's pretty clever. He's very similar to Dell in terms of in game. He wants to have a look at things and can he tweak things. So I think I'll reserve my judgment, keep my powder dry on that one just yet.
So just highlighting there. So Jack obviously just watching with a bit of delay there, but he does say Dees is suspended for next week, which isn't great because you are sort of pinning your hopes that Dees was going to come back in and maybe shore that defensive a bit. Now, we'll talk about the preview and looking ahead against the Celtic game and who we think could possibly be playing. But you are right. It's interesting what you say. I mean, I don't personally think the diamond works. It doesn't really help us because we played it last year and we got gubbed by Falkirk with that diamond as well. So it's not as if it's a new formation we've just started playing. We played that last year and we were good at home, but we were poor away. So maybe it should be a case of there's certain games that diamond would work, and I think Alan on our group chat makes a very good point that diamond would work well in games where teams maybe want to go and attack us down the middle. So the likes of your Rangers, your Celtics, or these teams. But when you've got other teams that are looking to play a bit more with a bit more width, that's where you're stretching that, and there's basically. They're just running down the sides of us, which then creates havoc for the likes of the centre backs who are then getting caught out of position. And if you've got these expansive fullbacks that are going bombing forward to try and support the attack, you're then literally left exposed at the back. And interestingly, I had to look at the heat map of the two centre backs, Shilty Brown and Stanger today, they were so far wide near the fullback position in each of their areas, and Brandon and Sean and Larson were further forward. Whereas if you look at Motherwell's two centre backs today, their positions were more where they should be on the heat map, and the fullbacks were up and down doing both. So for me, I feel as though that's where the problem lies, and it's all well and good saying Shilty Brown this or Stanger that or whoever, but I do feel as a collective that defensively we were just not very good, because of the shape. It doesn't work. I know you, Stephen, you just said you think that that's something we should be going forward with, but Laurie, we used that diamond formation last year, and like for instance Falkirk and Hibs as two examples where we got sort of exposed, and for me we do need a sort of second sort of formation to go and fall back on.
Yeah, I think we do. I think you're both right to an extent, not to try and sit on the fence. I think, Stephen, you're right to reserve judgment, but I kind of err more towards what Marston's saying, if I'm not a fan of it. But I think, Stephen, you're right. I think it's about personnel. The thing is, right, we've recruited some wide players, Maffrin, Ring, even Klitschenko in January. It's to me, it stifles these guys, which I think is quite strange. I mean, again, Steve, you mentioned that obviously we've got a winger as a manager and a striker and an assistant. You would think they would be up for, whether it be wingers running at players or wingers crossing balls into the box. You feel like when you play the diamond, it kind of kills your width a little bit, and then when a player is almost brazen enough to break that, whether that be through instruction or otherwise, you see us open up a bit more, whether that be when Kelty takes the initiative if if Rashawn Mathern wants to run forward, as you mentioned. You know, are we restricting those guys for playing the diamond? That's my question. I don't mind it at all as a formation, but I don't want it to stifle us because we're meant to play to our strengths, of course.
Yeah, and you described it, Laurie, as Neil McCann versus Kenny Shields. So we're up for entertaining football, but it could be an up and down campaign, as you mentioned. The only thing I would say is in that diamond, right, it's interesting that you mentioned about the wingers that we've signed. So could you imagine us playing that formation with Danny Armstrong on one side and Matty Kennedy on the other side in that diamond? It just wouldn't work because it would ruin their game. And I just think you're right in what you're saying, Klitschenko. I've seen probably Klitschenko play his best football when he's more out wide. And the same with Eric Ring when he went further up after the change in personnel when Tyrese went off. He looked okay. And for me, I just feel. I think Alan mentioned it about the 4-5-1 formation where Kilty tucks in behind the striker. And if you're probably better. You see, if you're at home, you want to be playing with two up top, right? But I think when you're going away from home, especially with the away record that we've got, I think playing with your two wingers and having just the one striker, where Hugel covers a lot of ground, and probably was the only one that probably got pass marks along with Kilty today. That I think that's probably a better way of playing because if we are then needing to change it in the game, we've got the options. I just feel as though we start really, really poorly in away games, and it's even though we didn't concede, and it was like the 15th, 16th minute this time. But how many times have we conceded so early in games away from home under McCann? We'll forget about previous managers, but let's just look at McCann's record. Fantastic at home, but away from home, we've still not quite got it. It's only came to the last two games of the season against St Mirren and Livy where we got good wins. But other than that, we've been really chronic away from home, and we clearly haven't learnt our lessons from last season. Callum McGee, shout out to him. He mentioned about how when you look at defensive recruitment as well, we've lost Joe Wright, we've lost Stuart Finlay, we've lost Lewis Mayo, yet we've not managed to come in and replace someone. We need someone that's got 300 or 400 games beyond the belt, someone that just, I don't know. I look at St Mirren, right, and I look at Alex Gogic, right. He just does what it says on the tin. Just gets his head in, gets his foot in. He's a bit rash at times, maybe, but he's a bloody good defender for the league. And I actually seen a Rangers fan even saying get Gogic in. That's how, he's a no frills defender, but he's got experience and he knows what to do at the back. And for me, you just need someone like that to basically shore up that defence.
Absolutely, and I think we can all agree that the defence needs a bit of work still. Absolutely, I think we can all settle on that. But the thing is, obviously now we need to give the two new guys a chance. I mean, especially the guy who was on the bench today because he appears to be more of a centre half, if I'm not mistaken. But I think it's just one of these things where we know there's a glaring issue in the defence. We're all saying centre back, but no one's really sure because to me a defence is a unit, right? But it just something just isn't really something isn't clicking there, and no one is and Neil McCann can't really figure out why. What I will say though is the away form is is an interesting one again. Premiership wise, of course, it's only match day number one, and that's another away defeat. But Neil McCann himself, rightly or wrongly, on Friday morning decided to tell the media that I think that he'd kind of solved the away issue with the end of last season, which I get his point from a media standpoint of him trying to paint it positive for the start of the season, but a little bit early to say that when, I suppose in Neil McCann's book actually we've got an away victory against Celtic, I guess. But seriously though, I think the away form is something that we do need to address this season because it's something that has plagued us for quite a while. And I think every manager coming in, doesn't matter if your name's Derek McInnes, Stuart Kettlewell, or whoever you are, but if you look at Neil McCann and here in you said Martin, I think every manager thinks they'll solve that issue. But I guess now we'll find out really what it is. Because I remember a lot of people theorising, is it because we're not used to playing on grass, etc. But now the proof will be in the pudding, and we'll see how we do on what Neil McCann himself is saying is one of the best stuffs in Scotland as of next week.
It's interesting you mentioned about the surface and about people saying about the grass and the plastic, but okay, there was a lot of players that were playing there last season, but the majority of that squad, like your Brad Lyons, your Lewis Mayos, who played for Aberdeen now, they're playing on grass week in, week out. They're out, so it's a completely new team, completely new management. So for me, I can. There is some aspects where the players will the way the ball rolls, the fact they've trained on it. I guess it will get a bit of used to. The pitch wasn't the greatest today, Stephen. I don't know what you thought. It just seemed a bit too dry. It's a new pitch, but the thing is, it's all well and good saying, "Oh, the pitch wasn't great," but the pitch is really a poor excuse because St Johnson had to play on it as well. It's and it's a new pitch as well, so it's not both teams have had to play on it. I just think personally, looking at it as you say, it was just a really really bad day at the office, and it's not. We don't want to get too down about it, but I think it was a worry when you're looking at it. But I do think Laurie touched on a good point that in the sort of chat that we were talking about before we came on air. There is a piece missing to the puzzle, and we all know what that piece is that's missing. And then you've also got the two boys that have come in. So the German, Mia, or Maya, I don't know how you pronounce it, Jonathan Maya. German fullback who can operate either left or right. Predominantly played right last year. When I looked at his stats, he actually is very similar to Michael Schoen Larson, likes to get forward. Very similar attributes as well. So he can play left or right, which is great, for flexibility. Brandon came on. I didn't think he was poor. He was a bit unlucky with that free kick, and he obviously set the goal up. I thought he looked better than he has been, after that sending off. But we've got three. I think the fullback areas are pretty much covered in terms of that. But we just need that, say, centre back in to really shore things up. And obviously, when Robbie Dees comes back from his suspension after the Celtic game, then you'll be looking to sort of steady the ship further. But even commentator was saying today, come on, looking to shore up their defence from last season, this, that, and the other. It's blatantly obvious, and I know it's no given to get a player in, and it's so hard to get players in. But the only thing I am shocked at is Neil McCann's not made that a massive priority, because it was glaringly obvious. But let's just hope that he is trying to work hard to fix that. And if he hasn't realised before now, hopefully today will give him a kick up the backside to maybe think, right, we need to get a centre back in, especially with Celtic coming next week. So it's early days. As I think it was Reece, that commented on before, it's the first game of the season. We're not going to get sort of choked up too much about it, and we just need to sort of move on and look forward to the next game, because, like I say, there's teams that have started the season really poorly. I mean, I even look at ourselves back in the 23-24 season when we ended up getting Europe. We beat Rangers first game, but then I think we went 7 games without a win, and then we didn't really sort of kickstart the season until December. So anything can happen in the season. Falkirk started slowly and then had a great season last year. So I think the results in the first sort of 10, 12 games, once you've played everyone, that's when you can sort of maybe have a better judgment of the squad, better cohesion of play, the way that Neil McCann wants to get them playing. And he touched on that in the Killy Trust meeting on Monday about, it is a bit of a slow burner and you've got to be patient with some of the players. Mentioned 1 or 2 of those, like Bailey Rice and Owen as well, the young Welsh lads, who he said is a great lad, really pacey, really, really quick, but it's got to be a slow burner with these sort of players. So I suppose it is about being patient, but he did say, as he's mentioned in public, he wants to play exciting attacking football, and we certainly could see bits of that today, but again, it's about getting that fine balance and that. So not going to get too caught up on it. But one question I will say, I'll say, Stephen, to yourself, Shorty Brown obviously had a dip last season after coming in and doing really well. Then he took a drop from the team. Do you feel that he should come out of the team after today's game, or would that be a wrong move?
I think possibly harsh. Maybe after when he's going to get the headlines, and I felt for him a bit today. Even on just watching the highlights, that he would get the headlines. I'm not convinced Stanger or Larsson actually for a couple of the goals either didn't cover themselves overly in glory either. So I think it's very. Yeah, they were all kind of a wee bit out of kilter. I thought he was unfortunate last season to go out of the team originally. Stanger came in and actually looked pretty good. But Shelty Brown, I think there's something there. Now, whether he might end up out on loan, just to kind of give him a bit of game time, maybe going to a championship team and kind of getting game week in, week out, that might majorly benefit him as a player. But I think it'd be really harsh to just pull him straight forward now, sort of thing. But again, obviously, remember if we're saying Dees is definitely out, you're looking at, as I say, the German lad wasn't even in the squad today. Does the other boy, he was on the bench obviously at least, but are these going to be up to match fitness, or does he think, well, I'll go with Shelty Brown again purely because it's Celtic, and you were kind of lacking a wee bit in terms of cover. I think it'd be harsh though just to pull him straight away after one game. But yeah, it's maybe just me. I've only watched highlights. I mean, obviously guys were up there, and some guys like yourself, Martin, watched it live as it was going on. But for me, I think it may be a touch harsh.
Yeah. See if it was an experienced pro that played the game like that and played 300 or 400 games, you'd be like, right, you'd probably drop him because it's different. With Shelty Brown, you've got to be really careful with young players. You don't want to sort of. It's a fine balance, and we're limited with what we've got to use at the minute. Anyway, I had the feeling that both defenders wouldn't start anyway because one, they came in Friday afternoon. Most of the match prep, pretty much all of it, would have been set up and done for then. So I think that would have been, there was no question that they would have been starting. I think the German lads, it could be that he's not match fit. or it could just be that waiting on international clearance, because I know that it was subject to international clearance on Friday when he did sign. So that could be the reason why that's been delayed. But you would like to think next week that if he wanted to play one of the new lads, that he would be looking to play him. I think the boy Waifeko, I don't know if that's how you pronounce his name.
He was on the bench,
but he can operate a left back as well. So there's a couple of options to maybe play three at the back and play two wing backs and maybe change it or keep this diamond. But against Celtic, I don't really know. I think the diamond will stay for the Celtic game at home because, as I say, Celtic would like to play more down the middle. And as Alan touched on, that it's a good formation for that type of game. But yeah, Shorty Brown for me, I would say that, like, see the goal that I think it was the winner. I mean, the defence was all over the shot, not just him.
Yeah.
Like you mentioned, Stephen, it was like there was loads, but see when he's come out that far out, it was a bit like Stanger last season at home to Rangers. You remember it? Where I think he ended up Hearts. He ended up getting sent off, clattered the guy, but he's already on a booking. But see for Shorty Brown, if you're an experienced defender, like say Joe Wright, for example, and you're coming that far out, all you've got to do is do a clever foul. Just foul him. Just run into him. Don't let him run past you. And that's exactly what Shorty Brown done. But obviously Shorty Brown is a young guy. He's not experienced enough yet. See if Shorty Brown had that experience. And that's what we're talking about, having that experienced defender to do those clever fouls, to stop the break and play, to reset, get it defensively organised. And for me, that was an example of that. Same with Stanger, still young and naive. At times, but there's clever fouls to be played, and when you're going that far out, you've just got to make the foul. I don't know, Laurie, if you agree on that.
Yeah, I would definitely go along with that, and I think Joe Wright is a perfect example. And I mean, and Joe Wright is somebody who Ethan will have worked with, trained with, but maybe never necessarily played with. But that's the thing. Whenever Ethan's been in the team, it's been with like Robbie Deed or George Stanger, who are actually relatively experienced in their own right, but they're not like guys who have got, as you say, a couple hundred games under the belt at such a high level. I mean, Stanger, of course, has only had a year, or he had two within the Premiership with Accies, but it was further back. But the point is, he's not really been that experienced in the top flight. I mean, I know, Stephen, you and I have said this, like, this is like Kirk Broadfoot's MO, almost like the dark arts, the kind of clever side of defending. But I think for now, obviously, because we don't want Kirk playing to play plus well. I remember everyone's moaning that his legs had gone before. So obviously now we need to try and get an experienced player. And I don't even mind if it's someone a year's deal. Like, I mean, we've said Kirk Broadfoot, like someone of that mold before. Or even like when Steve Clark brought Alex Bruce in. Someone like that, just someone who's been there, done it, seen it. I don't really care who they are. Even if the main aim of this player is just to help, not quite coach players through games, but just give us that bit of know-how and nous, really, yeah.
I'll tell you one that I remember, and it was when I first started following Kelly, was a cup-winning defender, Michael Nelson. That type of defender as well.
Hard as nails.
Yeah, just, he went on to have an okay career. I think he went to Hibs at one point as well. But, he's that type of defender. I mean, you've had Scott Boyd, Alex Bruce, as you mentioned, Kurt Broadfoot. That type of defender is what we need right now. Someone that, would get their head on it. And Scott Boyd is probably not the right shout, but the majority of those sort of type of characters is what you're looking for. Even, like, say, Joe Wrights of these world. Someone that is just knows how to defend. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see. You obviously got the rest of the window to look forward to see who will come in. You'd like to think that maybe we're waiting for one or two bodies to move out the door. The likes of Scott Tiffany, who I forgot what he looks like. Not seen him in that long.
hinted with Race Rovers, wasn't he? I think he was linked.
Yeah.
Indeed he was, yep.
Yeah, and then obviously we've had a couple of boys go out on loan as well. So Cole Coughlin went on loan to was it Queen of the South?
Queen of the South. Not new, that was bad community by the club actually. There's an extended cooperation agreement in place whereby Cole Coughlin, Rory Ellis, and I think there's one more player that I know.
Aaron Davis.
Aaron Davis, yes, have all went to Queens on one of those like flexible loan deals in League One. And Cole Coughlin, by the way, has already got an assist to his name, although Queen of the South did lose 5-1 yesterday.
Yeah, and Ellis was playing centre back, so maybe we'll not
Right.
call him back too soon. So not a good week, not a good weekend for Kilmarnock in defending. Maybe Kirk Broadfoot was on the sidelines there thinking, "Fucking hell, maybe get me on the pitch to defend some of them." But I tell you what, I'd have taken a Kirk Broadfoot on the second half as a sub. I tell you, yeah, we just weren't great. But anyway, enough of that. Celtic next week. We're going to beat them, obviously. 1-0, clean sheet, happy days. Back to defending well. Now, I don't know. Next week's going to be an interesting one. I actually think next week's game, everyone's going to get down about today's defeat and think of the worst possible going into the Celtic game. I'm going to give us a realistic. I reckon we're going to go for a draw. I don't like to. I like to back Kilmarnock all the time for a win, but I honestly think we'll get a draw. Home, new pitch. Meant to be the best in Scotland, according to Neil McCann, as he mentioned on Monday, and he likes to mention quite a lot. But yeah, I think we'll go and get a draw and give them a wee upset early doors. Just think that they're there for the taking at the minute. They're not in a great place themselves. The fans are on edge a bit, so it's a good opportunity to give them an early nosebleed in the title and then let them fight amongst it with the likes of Rangers and that on the socials. But what's your thoughts there, Stephen? Celtic at home, new pitch.
Yeah, traditional kick-off time, 1:30.
Yeah,
on a Sunday. I see they've got a traditional kick-off time tomorrow night as well. So it may be interesting to actually to be in the anorak that to watch them tomorrow night, see how they line up, see who's going to be in the squad for them as well. Obviously spent about 11 million quid on that. I don't know will that boy will even play. The signed. So yeah, it'll be interesting to watch and see how they are. I don't traditionally think Martin O'Neill liked coming to Rugby Park, to be fair. We're not really talking about the surface too much there, but I don't think he liked coming here because he didn't like the kind of, but yeah, tough challenge for him sort of thing. I mean, the defence is going to have to sharpen up big style through the week for us to, because it's going to be back to the wall stuff. I'm not as confident as you, Martin. I actually, unfortunately, I'm going to predict us getting beat. Probably 2-1, maybe 3-1. I think we might have a goal in us, but I think they're going to be too powerful. But again, we'll watch them tomorrow night and see how they line up, what their squad's like. And I don't see them making any additions before next Sunday, but certainly be interesting to have a look at, see what they're all about. They obviously know with Dell having his traditional draw for his start. They know what they've got to do, I suppose, don't they? Because they're playing afterwards, which is slightly unfair. But we'll not go with the hypocrisy and the kind of the theories that will be stoking about Glasgow. But yeah, yeah, let's have a look at what they've got in terms of tomorrow night anyway. But I think they'll have too much for us personally. Particularly, we've got a week to try and turn around what we're seeing today. You can't ship cheap goals like we did today against Celtic. I mean, if we defend like we did today in parts, just watching the highlights, then we could be in real trouble. Hope not, but yeah, I'm not optimistic at all about it.
What I will say is that every time we've had a really bad performance away from home under McCann, we seem to have a really good performance at home. Okay, the surface has changed, but I don't think that should play too much of a part into it. And I do feel that McCann will read them the right out this week. They'll go over it, they'll analyse it, but they'll also be looking to plan ahead and have a game plan and a structure. They'll have one eye on tomorrow, as you say. I seen Martin O'Neill was there today. He will be happy to see what he's seen, I'm sure. But seriously, I think we just need to make sure we work on our set pieces as well, because obviously a couple of the goals come from set pieces. We need to make sure that that's what we work on in training this week. But no, I do feel a draw is there, but I can see the reason as to why, Stephen, you feel as though that could be the case, and I don't think there'll be many Kelly fans disagreeing with you, but I'm trying to be a bit more optimistic this season. I think a draw will be a good result. I think that if we do lose it though, and then we go into Hibs the week after, potentially if that game does go ahead still. Oh no, it's the cup game next, sorry, isn't it?
Cup game
And
after Celtic.
but even going into that
An
cup
easy one
game
against Ayr United.
But that's the thing. I'm going to be honest, right? See if we lose to Celtic next week, and see if we get gubbed. The Ayr game becomes massive, and I'm afraid to say Gary Naismith's a very good manager. Got Stenhouse-Muir up last year. Started well at Ayr United, 4 wins out of 4, I think it is, or 5 wins out of 5 now with the league yesterday. So I wouldn't be counting your chickens on that one.
We're better than that lot.
Well, Laurie, I'll go to you.
I'll talk about the Celtic game first. Unfortunately, I'm here in Stephen's camp, and I think we are going to come out on the on the wrong side of it. Again, like yourself, Stephen, I think there's a goal in us, so I think my gut's saying 3-1, and that's not even to say we'll play badly. It's just they'll have a bit maybe too much to offer. As for the Ayr game, you're right in what you say, Martin, in a sense that Gary Naismith was seen as a good appointment. I mean, he was someone that some people touted as like a left field shout for Kelly manager once upon a time. And I think he has started well, as you say. I think it is 5 wins in 5, but I think we will have just, again, a bit like Celtic will for ourselves potentially. I think when it comes to Ayr, we will just be too strong. I mean, the Premiership and the Championship, there is a bit of gulf in the levels. And I think as well, having a bouncing rugby park behind us, which I'm sure we will on that Friday night, now that it's been confirmed, Friday night for Premier Sports, I think we will have too much for Ayr, but I'm sure we'll get into that next week.
Yeah, I think it's disappointing why the manner of losing, but also when you draw in and it's 3-0, you think, but then 10 minutes to go as well, you think, right, just get the draw, get down the road, get the point, first point on the board, and then you've got Celtic at home. Realistically, there's a chance it's gonna be a tough game. So, if you lose that, you've still got that point against St Johnstone. You're going into the Ayr game, but see, because you're going on the back of a really lethargic, poor performance today, and it looks like a close game, 4-3, but it wasn't. St Johnstone could have had 7 or 8 goals, and I mean that sounds an exaggeration, but it isn't.
Although what is interesting about the goals, just very quickly, and I know Martin has up your street, is the XG for the game. I'm sure St John's XG was 1 point something, and ours might have even not even hit the 1, which is interesting. But it shows you that attack won and defence lost out for both teams. So it shows you how careful we need to be next week.
Yeah, and I'll be putting a lot of the stats up on the Substack channel. I've seen, Stephen, you put a good article up on the Substack earlier, so that was nice to read. Before the game, it was probably the best part of the day, reading your article, so thank you very much. But yeah, no, you're right in what you're saying. I just feel as though it was important to get something today, and we didn't, because next week makes it that bit harder, and then going into the derby sort of takes care of itself, but it doesn't matter what division you're in. I think you talk about Championship, Premiership. At the end of the day, it's an Ayrshire derby. They're going to be on a high. We're going to be on a low. Results makes a big difference. And see if we defend against Ayr United like we did today. Doesn't matter whether you're playing bloody St Johnstone or Celtic or Elgin or whoever. If you defend like that, you're gonna concede goals whoever you play. So I think first and foremost, we need to make sure we stop shipping goals at the back. And it's quite ironic because this time last week, we was talking about how defensively solid we are, yet we were struggling to score goals. And here we are 7 days later talking about scoring 3 goals, but being absolutely chronic at the back. So, yeah.
Although arguably this today was more like what we expected on paper, because we thought, this team looks good going forward, but we're not sure about going back. Now we're seeing evidence of that. I mean, it's only 1 game, so we'll see how it plays out, but we do have a pretty tough start. I mean, Celtic, as we say, a derby with the form book, well, you might be able to chuck it out the window, and then obviously the Hibs game, and obviously Hibs, for us, Easter Road has never really been a happy hunting ground, so hopefully we can put that right.
Well, David Hanna, who missed the game today, rarely misses a game, but he mentioned in his predictions on Substack earlier on in the week that we were going to win at Easter Road. So hopefully he's right, and that was going to be a surprise selection of the season. So yeah, next week will take care of itself anyway. So we're doing a prediction table, as I said. Now, we all got the result wrong today, but Laurie, because Kilmarnock scored 3 goals, you get at least a bonus point. So you're currently leading out of the 3 of us there. So
I'll take it.
So well done.
To be fair, I get one of goal scorers, don't I?
No, we're not doing goal scorers. Goal scorers,
come on.
No, goal scorers ain't counting because I got a goal scorer as well, so we're not doing that. So Laurie, well done, because I remember messaging you when we scored, thinking, bloody hell, you're going to get the score right there. What's the chances? But no. So you're doing well. So hopefully next week that you two are wrong and I'm the winner, and we'll all be happy. You'll be delighted that I've won. So anyway, next week will take care of itself. But let's move on to the ladies. And Stephen, this is your baby.
Steady now. Only one that I know about. Good result for Laura and the team today. They won 2-1. I made a wee slip up. The Twitter police have caught me on that one because I said good away win, but I count Cumnock as away, to be fair. But someone decided that it was it wouldn't be that bad. But I did mention last week when I was bigging the girls up that we were playing away from Dowie Park because it wasn't quite ready for the facilities. But anyway, thanks for the individual knows who they are. So cheers for that. But a good result. Young Sky Stout got the first one. She's 16 minutes. She got the first goal. Fantastic. So 1-0 at half time. Cara Gray actually scored as well, but she got flagged offside. Don't know because obviously we didn't get any pictures on it, kind of thing. But so that was in 31 minutes. Looks as if we pretty much controlled the game. 64 minutes. We scored. Imogen Rooney got one for us. So good to see her on the score sheet as well. And in a dying embers, Dundee United in 86 minutes scored a consolation. But yeah, great win for the girls. I'm sure Laura and the team will be well happy. Not so sure about Mr. Chapman, but there you go. That's another one for the day. But yeah, good for the girls. So at least some of Ayrshire would be kept well done with the football side today. So yeah, good for the girls, and let's hope we keep the run going. But yeah, all good.
So Stephen, how do you think if Jim Chapman isn't happy after a win, how do you reckon he'd be if he was in the dugout in Perth today?
Yeah, he might be a tad upset. Yeah, he might just be a bit upset. But
I think Neil McCann's interview was a bit tasty because he got asked about the game and he didn't quite get asked if it was an exciting one, and he said something along the lines of, "I didn't enjoy it." He could tell he was miffed. He was holding some stuff back from the BBC interview there for sure.
I think to be fair, because he's been in the media, he kind of knows what's coming at him, doesn't he? And some of the questioning, and I think we've discussed it before, Martin, about some questioning for some interviews are just poor. You know, you think we could come up with better kind of thing, you know, and I think the way that question was kind of directed towards him, it was easy for him just to kind of, you know, almost like, well, I didn't like it. It was almost Gordon Strachan like, where it's kind of, you know, there was a one-liner kind of, you know, where a sarcastic comment was going to come straight off the bat, you know. But again, you can see he's well honed and well skilled in the media. I mean, even through the week there, I don't know if you've seen it, but through the week at his kind of pressers, he was checking somebody for coming in late, you know, which actually was classic deflection on, because the point, I can't remember what it was, but, you know, it was getting a bit kind of, it was clearly a line that he wasn't really happy with in terms of the question. And then he's, somebody's come in at the back, you're late. And just kind of diffused it. He's very slick in terms of the media.
I love that.
He knows how to play it. But, you know, I think the early signs with him are good. He's kind of telling it as a supporter see it. He's not trying to, you know, there's no patter or flannel with him about this or that or the other. You know, it's a matter of we weren't good. We need to get better kind of thing. So, that, you know, it's refreshing to hear that rather than, you know, you falling asleep as a goth tells us about how good things were. And Dale giving us A&E report about an Achilles or whatever else sort of thing. So yeah,
saying how good the other team were when instead of just saying how shite we were. But no, I think you're right with McCann. He says it as it is, and you can tell his body language as well that he's not happy. He mentions and acknowledges, you know, that's not a performance for the supporters. That's not a performance that he expects from his team. This, that, and the other. So and he's saying all the right words and that, but I got a feel from McCann from the Kelly Trust meeting on Monday that he really cares and he's really passionate about the club, and it wasn't just lip service. There was a bit more to it than that. There was an acknowledgement to the fans that travelled for the 2 games as well in the cup. He said himself that the team wasn't ready and where it needed to be, but the job got done in the League Cup in terms of getting through, and the benefit of that was getting a tasty tie against to which a couple of supporters at the front reminded him it's better than Rangers versus Celtic. And he said, I'll have to test that one then. So, yeah, he had his wee sort of joke as well, like you were saying. And there was a phone that went off at one point to which he made a joke about. So he's got that quick wit about him, and he's got that good rapport with the supporters. And I think the room really warmed to his approach as well, and the acknowledgement from the fans there. It was great to see so many supporters in attendance, just really encouraged by what he had to say. I think it was a really, really good interview as well from Chris, who's on the Kelly Trust. Nice to have a chat with him at the end. Big shout out to him. He listens to us. He is a Wrexham fan as well, like Dom. So I did remind him about that. Told him, that he needs to start focusing his more concentration on the Kelly side of things. But yeah, no, good laugh. And he lives in Oswestry as well, so from Shropshire, down my neck of the woods. So it's a good chat. I got a good chat with one or two. Nice to bump into some familiar faces. And it was just really full of positivity. Talking about his relationship with Finlay Curtis, and talking about the World Cup as well, and about how he loved being over there. But he was so looking forward to getting back, and he's non-stop. He's like quite a sort of an addictive person to football as well, and you can see that in the way he talks in the media to us as fans and that. So he did admit fans were a bit sceptical of him, but he knew that he had to sort of win fans over. But he's hoping that the brand of football we were playing, and we did see the back end of last season would, is a lot better. And I think we can all agree on that. But I mean, today's performance is probably why he is so miffed, or because of what he knows his command side are capable of. And I think that's a fair reflection on today's interview, and from what I've seen on Monday. So I'm not concerned. It's only one game, as someone just mentioned already. Laurie, I think we can probably safely agree, and Stephen, that one game isn't going to make or break the season. You don't win a title on the first game. You don't get top 6. You don't win a cup. You don't get relegated after game 1. But it does give you an indication of where you need to improve on. And I think there was plenty of things to take away from it as a fan. But the positive sign is that we're still scoring goals, and we are capable of doing that. Just a quick one though. Tyrese John Jules looked really off it again. Really not fit.
Hooked just after half time, wasn't he?
He was. Well, he got injured. Yeah, he got injured. To be fair, right, he was probably. I know it sounds bad what I'm saying. I hope he's well, because it was a facial injury. It was a little bit of concussion, like.
Concussion, I think maybe
he came on, but then it looked like he just wanted to go off. He just wasn't at it. It looked like he was at it, but he'd already got a booking after 20 minutes, and there was a couple of challenges afterwards, and you just felt John Beaton could send him off because he was sort of snatching at challenges. So I think for the benefit of that sub, probably benefited anyway, and it actually benefited the team because we started to look a bit better in the second half in the attacking front.
I would agree, but of course, first and foremost, let's hope he's all right. I mean, and I think whilst watching it live, I think the St Johnstone supporters in the stadium were obviously calling for Tyrese to be sent off, because obviously it was a quite, hard 50-50 between Tyrese and the Saints goalie, Toby Stewart. And to be fair, Ty comes off way worse, and it appears that he did have some form of concussion, which I think is why he went down afterwards. He was going to give it a go. And then you notice the substitution to bring on Jimmy Brandon was earmarked as a concussion sub. So I think maybe he has, at the very least, concussed himself. So let's wish Tyrese all the best. And let's hope we get to see him back in full colour playing for Kelly very soon.
Yeah, and he was off it today, really well off it. But what I will give him credit for is the first goal, because when the ball comes in from Ring and Lowry heads it down, Tyrese actually because of his strength and that, he takes 2 defenders with him, which then allows Kilty to run in for the goal. So it's actually really probably the best bit of play that Tyrese actually done in that half. But yeah, like you say, wish him well, and hopefully it's he gets back to the full fitness he needs to, because there is sort of concerns about his fitness amongst the fan base at the minute. But I'm not a medical expert, so I'm not going to get too much into that. I'm more prone to injuring myself than knowing about how to fix people. So
yeah,
I'm not going to comment
same
on
here.
that.
Same here, yeah.
So yeah, but no. Before we finish, just one last quick mention about the third kit that came out this week. I looked at it and thought, I like that. I love it. Then I went on Friday night with you. I've seen you too, Stephen. You mentioned to me it looks like a training kit. I hadn't seen it, and then I turned around and seen someone wearing it, and I was like, oh, yeah, I see what you mean. It's okay, but I wouldn't I wouldn't be spending 60 quid on it.
No, I'm also a wee bit baffled that it's blue, because I don't know when we're going to wear that. To be fair, there's going to be sharp clashes there. I know it's a third kit, so it's technically speaking not an away kit, but it baffles me slightly. I would have thought if they were going with something that would have been, I don't know what you do with colours and fairness, but you could have went, because you went full on white or a lighter shade of blue, or I don't know. The logo looks a bit strange as well. Obviously, we all know about the logo, but there's a whole load of bump on if you looked at the description for whoever wrote that for the club about the story and all that. I think we're not quite marketeers yet. But to me, it doesn't lend. You don't see the badge, and so you maybe associate it with a training top. Was my thought process. It's first time I seen it, just photographed. I just thought you might wear it in your holidays, whatever. But somebody's not going to come up to you and say, "Oh, you're a Kelly fan," whatever. Because they maybe struggle to read the logo as such. But yeah, that's.
Thoughts on it, Laurie?
Yeah, I think it's quite nice, but I also do think all of what you said is fair comment in terms of a bit of a training top kind of look. I mean, yes, we've changed the badge a few times in recent years, but I mean, even in this literal training top that I have on, or officially it's a pre-match top, that's what we have to warm up in. Even this is more identifiable as a Kilmarnock top than what that third kit is. For those who didn't necessarily pick it up and it wasn't covered too well in the marketing gump, as we put it, the pattern in the third kit is from the 1992 home shirt. They just said early 90s in the gump. And yeah, the badge is interesting. I would have thought maybe you put the badge on the training wearing the tracksuits and not use it on the shirt. But in terms of the colour, the kind of navy or Oxford blue, they might try and go for, cobalt blue, I think is the Hummel wording. It's just one of these where I think they've went for it because I think it's due to a contrast, a lack thereof, because obviously last year all of our kits were arguably too dark because you had a predominantly blue home kit, you had the away kit which was the red and blue half and half, and then purple third kit. Then you kind of wonder where the contrast is. And then this time you've got a predominantly white home kit, which is what I think legislates us to get the blue. And there was chat, and you can find this on the X if you go to Kelly Kit, so you might have put it on the forums actually. It was actually meant to be flipped round at first. It was meant to have the kind of ecru or off-white coloured shirt and then the navy shorts and socks, but it was flipped round because we went for the yellow kit. So I take it the SPFL have had something to say again with regard to contrast, but the actual shirt I think does actually look quite nice, but a little bit training top-ish maybe.
Yeah, it's just it doesn't stick out for me as an iconic sort of top I'd go out and buy. Like I say, I quite like the home one. I've seen in person. It's not everyone's taste. It's okay. So I've got one for me and my daughter. I actually like the yellow one now. I haven't seen it a bit more. I do like it. It looks all right. But again, it's probably one I wouldn't buy straight away because it's just a bit similar to one we had 2 or 3 seasons ago. I think me and Ali Niven, who shout out spoke to on Friday night, we were having a wee chat about kits as well as many other things, and that was one of the topics of discussion was the away top. So yeah, just it was good to bump into him. But Gunnar Vance looking handsome as ever. He was looking more handsome in the cream polo shirt than I was, but I was going
to say you both got the same wardrobe memo, a bit like you and Blair.
Yeah, Blair Ralston and me, we had an arrangement beforehand, so we looked identical pretty much in colour. The only difference is he's a good footballer and a good-looking chap, and I'm a baldy, and a bit overweight. But apart from that, and I'm not a good footballer either. So yeah, but the dress memo was there, so I got something right. But anyway, is there anything left for yourself, Stephen and Laurie, for a shout out?
Oh, I'm all good. All
I
good.
think I think we're all good. Just obviously looking forward to the first game on the hybrid grass pitch, which of course now looks brilliant. We can give a shout out quickly to the wee robot that paints the lines. You don't need a guy with a roller anymore.
Yes,
Is it coming out with the ball though to a centre circle for Celtic?
I don't know, but I really think it should. I remember years ago, was it when we played at Broth, where this like Hamilton tarmac branded blue and white like Kelly Jeep or Land Rover that carried the ball out onto the pitch.
yeah.
Bring that back out.
Well, if it can play centre back, then we'll put it on the bench. No, it was good, but just another shout out as well. Obviously Friday night it was all about the lads and the Kelly Con, but obviously bumping into fans that we've seen. Really do appreciate the feedback that you were giving me personally, and I think Laurie Stephen, you had the same as well.
Definitely, yeah.
So thank you very much. That's very much appreciated because it's something that we enjoy doing, and I'm glad we're back just talking about all things Kelly. And what a way to start with a defeat as well in the league. But hey, wouldn't have it any other way, would we? It's the Kelly way,
Kelly way.
The Kelly way, as I say. But for now, as we always say, Mon the Kelly.